It's the Weekly Wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, comedian Tim Slagle. And now, without further ado, Bruce Wolf.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. And now for my favorite part of the show, wherein I guess what's in Tim's background. And Tim, this is an easy one for me, of course. It's that poster of Eugene V. Debs that you've dragged out after 100 years after his death. He made the news this week, as you well know, I'm sure, right?
I might have missed that.
Mom Donnie, whoa, mentioned him in his victory speech. So, yeah. I
heard he was out of the closet.
Oh, really? I did not.
Oh, yeah. I mean that there was there's no more. Well, I don't really believe that.
Sure, right. Yeah.
It's gotcha. April Fool.
Yeah. No, this is going to be great. As Mencken said, the hoi polloi want democracy, and now they're going to get it good and hard. There we go. So
well, no, close, but
okay.
But I happen to be here in New York City. And,
okay.
Boy, that was fast.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
It's not so much different than what I had said. Yeah. Yeah. So my question
for the radio listeners,
yes.
It's a mosque, downtown mosque.
Yeah, downtown. Very, very nice. So I'm just wondering, we're hearing about the buses, it's going to be mobile homeless shelter. That's going to be fun. Rent control. And of course,
wait, a mobile homeless shelter?
That's what it's going to turn out to be. The buses.
The buses are going to be mobile home shelters.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be.
Because he's also talking about free housing, right?
Well, he's going to freeze rents. Of course, the problem is some wags have noted these apartment owners, they own some of their buildings are rent controlled and some aren't. So what they'll do is they'll jack up the rents on the ones that aren't controlled, or they won't fix up things. It never works. Absolutely never works. But
I don't understand how rent control operates, to be honest. How can you have a building and you can't raise the rent for 30 years? So they're still paying rent from 30 years ago, but maintenance, washers for the faucets cost a little bit more than they did in 1995.
I don't know that, I don't know exactly how the system works, but I know that they're at least rent controlled. So, they don't reflect the market. And that's why there's a big housing shortage in New York. And so people can't really afford to live there. So what's the answer? Tax people out of existence. It's not going to work. But I was thinking, as long as we're going socialist, that I assume that New York will apportion Yankees and Knicks tickets equitably. Why shouldn't everybody? What are there? 8 million people in the city. Everybody get in line, and by you might see Aaron Judge the fourth if you're deep in line to get to. But why should the same few rich people get to see the Yankees and the Knicks? Spike Lee gets the courtside seat. Are you kidding me? How about giving the lesser filmmakers a chance?
Like his mom.
Right. There we go.
The filmmaker who nobody's ever watched one of her films.
Right. So it's going to be interesting. But as
it's interesting that you bring that up, because when people start talking about the difference between equity and equality, they use that baseball cartoon. You know what I'm talking about? Where there's a equality, and it's everybody standing at a fence trying to see a baseball game for free.
Exactly.
Then equity is that they each have soapboxes that are based on their height, so that everyone gets to see it. There
we go. I love the baseball metaphor. Hey, first off, Cujo's, as Michael Jordan would say, to the city of Chicago. Just as Tina Fey was at Second City before she was at 30 Rock, Chicago had Brandon Johnson leading the way for Mamdani. I don't think it happens without our very own Brandon Johnson leading the way. And and it's too bad because I don't think Chicago gets the attention it deserves as a failure, but now New York will. I mean, that's the way these things work. So
Sure,
yeah,
sure. Failure wasn't big until it went to
no,
New York.
it'll be
Yeah, when it was just kind of like Grease, when it was a
now.
little Chicago theater production. It didn't get any attention. It wasn't until it went to Broadway
There
that
we
it
go.
became a nationwide sensation.
Now Chris has put up this tweet from Ellen Barkin, which says, "For F's sake, will you please learn the difference between socialism and communism? Look up or shut up." And I was wondering if the difference between socialism and communism was greater than the difference between the character that Ellen Barkin played, called Smurf in Animal Kingdom, and Ellen Barkin herself. And I think there isn't much difference because, judging by her attitude in this expletive deleted tweet that she had, she's pretty much Smurf. Wouldn't you agree, Chris, who watched Animal Kingdom? I believe Chris would assent
I
to that.
think they were capitalists with all the thievery they were doing. They weren't sharing the wealth. They weren't Robin Hooding.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about
Are you talking about the F word?
Oh no, I'm talking about her personality. I mean, she seems. I mean, she's a nasty woman. Let's put it that way. She was a
Then yes, that's like Smurf.
she was a psychopath in Animal Kingdom. Which you watched. Which, by the way, I'm now looking for a new series to watch. And you know that Landman is coming back. Tim, did you realize
I assumed it would. I heard it wasn't until 2026. Is it
Oh,
coming back sooner?
I thought it was coming back sooner. Maybe that's just
I
wishful
believe it's
thinking.
the 15th.
Yeah,
Of
yeah, of this
November.
month.
Oh wow. Wow.
Yeah, I think so.
As
And
Tulsa King wraps up, I think it
Wow.
starts.
Yeah.
Wow. Chris is on Naval Watch,
Now,
which
yeah,
has nothing
for
to do with
us-
the ocean.
for us. So
You know the difference? Yeah, I think the difference between socialism and communism is that Hitler was a socialist and he opposed communism. So, if I'm not mistaken,
yeah, it was this distinction without a difference. Chris had put up this Ayn Rand tweet, which basically blurred the distinction between socialism and communism. There really is no difference there. But this Palantir, you're familiar with, that's the AI company, right? The CEO, Alex Karp, said of Mamdani, the average Ivy League grad voting for this mayor is annoyed their education is not that valuable, and that the person who knows how to drill for oil, like Billy Bob Thornton, has a more valuable profession. So, so there you go. Little allusion to a landman. But yeah, they're basically Mamdani got the vote of the downward mobile. Just people who got these fancy educations. He did well among the college educated, and because and they haven't achieved the American dream. So naturally, they're looking for scapegoats. The Jews are one, of course. Capitalism is another. So
30% of New York Jews voted for Mamdani.
Those I call those people ginos, Jews in name only. Yeah, but I got to tell you, I think it was the Reform rabbi, a woman, the largest Reform synagogue in New York City, who actually came out against Mamdani. And I'll tell you, when you can get the Jews that united, because there's a lot of backbiting, jealousies, irritation among the various sects of Judaism. But when you get them united, because I mean,
yeah, but it's nowhere near as bad as Christians.
Well,
I
no,
mean, good Lord.
You guys are really awful.
You look at Europe in the Middle Ages to find out
Right.
what the sects of Christians do when they oppose each other.
Oh no, I mean, let's kill millions of people over the difference between transubstantiation and consubstantiation. I get it. It's actually a big deal. I don't want to trivialize the difference.
The arguments between the Jews is, I disagree with you. That's it.
Yeah, well, when we disagree, we chant, "I disagree with you, you son of a bitch." Anyway,
Yeah, I was gonna do it like that, but I don't think I'm allowed to.
You aren't. You go ahead, Chicago.
I know I'm not allowed to do black voice. I don't think I'm allowed to do Jew voice either.
Well, I've always believed that we should have an exchange. If you're talking to somebody, black guy, and he wants to go into an accent like this, he can do that as long as I can go, holy macro there. And by the way, I didn't do, I just did an Amos light, a kingfish light, and it didn't go full kingfish because that would have been
you know what?
offensive.
I think I'm the same way. Is anytime I attempt black voice, it comes off like Amos and Andy.
Yeah,
it's
right.
forced, incorrect, and a little bit racist.
But you don't
kind of like when Kamala does it.
If your black voice should not be as good as Kamala's, which means it's bad. You shouldn't do a real good one. I
mean, where would she have learned black voice? I mean, she grew up with an Indian mother in Canada.
Yeah, right.
Okay. I mean, she could do call center voice.
Well, it's like, remember when Trump was interviewed in Chicago, and they asked him about Kamala, and he said, "I'm not even sure she's black." And that was such a stir, and there's no way he was going to win Illinois.
Well, yeah, sure. You know what? I think that's the reason why Trump got the black vote, is they didn't see her as black.
Yeah,
she looked like she was the daughter of that guy who owns the liquor store that rips them off when they try to buy groceries.
Exactly. And Mandani, for groceries, speaking of that, he's not going to allow you to purchase lottery tickets and cigarettes. And, I'm just wondering, can we at least dip our spinach in butter sauce? But he's not going to do that. Carol Roth, my friend, actually said, the people on food stamps should, get whole food staples like rice and beans. Okay, there we go. So I think you get a merging here of right and left on this. Don't let him buy Lucy's and things like that. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. And we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that our very own Rahm Emanuel, boy, he's looking presidential now. I mean, he's appearing before groups. He said recently, he's going around now saying that he's realizing that the American dream is out of the grasp of too many people. He plans on deep sixing as many Laquan McDonald videos as it takes to help Americans get back in the game, I guess. But
the American dream is out of reach for the average American, like the cereal on the top shelf of the grocery store is for Rahm.
Well, Rahm worked his way up. I mean, what Rahm did was, he's in the politics for all the while, steps out of it for a second, becomes an investment banker. Okay, because he had a lot of training in all that, and then he brings together a couple of the fat cats that he knew while he was in politics, gets his 15 million, then goes back into politics. I love that little two-step there. Well, as my former partner Dan Proft called him, the tiny dancer, and he is pretty nimble on his feet, the way he goes back and forth that way. But anyway, he was quoted talking about what he had done for education in Chicago, free community college, college credits in high school, a plan for every graduate. All I remember is Karen Lewis pantsing him. That's all. But, hey, we have short memories. That everybody's going to hope that there's a short memory about Laquan McDonald as well. And you know what? I could actually see myself voting for Rahm Emanuel. Well, first of all, I got to have the first Jewish president during my lifetime, right? But he's come out against men and women's sports and the 80-20 issues. He's seems to be the right side there. And we got very nutty people on the left and the right, but in the absence of now Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, he's got one big issue is they do not make platform souls that big.
You're right.
We have
You're right.
not, I don't think Americans have voted a president under 5'10"
Ever?
in at least a century.
Who was it like? It was like Franklin Pierce really short. I mean, I can't remember who's really short.
Well, no one knows who FDR, no one knows how tall he really was because he didn't stand up.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I
Is that
don't
a
think
joke?
they're
Was that a joke?
kind of, kind of. It was, it was an ableist joke. This.
Yeah. I'm okay with it, but my dog Falla doesn't like it at all. There we go. Little fireside chat for you.
But I
All
think
right.
at least in my lifetime, the presidents have all been tall. I mean,
Yeah.
at least since television.
Absolutely. I agree. That's the way it works. Which seems, awfully
Sure, it's horrible, but it's
awfully
the way
tallest, or whatever.
it's the way it is. I mean,
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but it's some of my favorite presidential candidates will never be president. Ted Cruz never be president. He looks too much like Eddie Bunster.
Totally. Well, I
It's
mean, can't you get rid of the widow's peak? I mean, that's all. Plus, Ted, when they've shown Ted sitting around recently, and when he sits around the house, he sits around the house. Oh yeah, yeah. All right, let's talk real. Oh well, Dick Cheney died. As it's put in my rundown by Chris, in the very unbiased rundown that we get, neutral rundown, the leading the B block. Dick Cheney, war criminal, dead. So
and torturer
well,
war
here's the
criminal
thing.
and torturer.
Everything I've seen about Dick Cheney, whether it's been good or bad, I haven't seen anything about the torture. It's like it's been deleted. Did the torture work at all? I mean, there were guys who were saying it was. I wanted to believe it worked because I'm a big fan of 24. I wanted to think that we did squeeze something out of these guys that led to catching the 9/11 people. But what was the upshot on it? It just kind of died, and we just.
But
it seemed like it was like it. The opinion was that it didn't really work.
Huh.
Is that right, or I don't know.
Hard to say. They don't really publish transcripts of what. Do you ever see Brazil? You ever see the movie Brazil?
I know of it.
They had one of my favorite gags they had on that was they had a transcriptionist for the torture chamber. And she's just typing, "Ow, please God, no, stop. Ow.
Could you slow down? Could you repeat that, Miss Court Reporter? Ow, ow, ooh, okay.
Yeah, they didn't really transcribe those torture. And I'll say one thing is who's kind of relieved with his passing is Lynn Cheney. Because now she has resources that she will need to defend herself.
I see. Okay.
She's going to have some legal expenses, I think, coming in pretty soon.
Well, we'll see about that one. But anyway, I actually I didn't view him as a war criminal. I didn't like that he endorsed Kamala Harris in the last election, and he was for Trump and then against Trump, and then he went back and forth. But he
shot his best friend in the he shot his best friend in the face. Remember, so.
Well, yeah, that's true. But he endorsed Trump for the 2016 election. So interesting character. So meantime, there was a kerfuffle this week about the Heritage Foundation. Did you follow that at all? Do you care?
I think I missed that one.
Okay, well, just briefly, I mean, the head of the Heritage Foundation, this Kevin Roberts, kind of hedged, or he was really at best waffled on Tucker Carlson interviewing Nick Fuentes, and it sounded like the Heritage Foundation at least tacitly supported that kind of inquiry, but he seems to be backpedaling throughout the week. The last thing I saw that him say was, I want to be really clear. I don't think that everything, or maybe even most of what Tucker does now, is helpful or good. So it's interesting. I mean, this is the battle on the right, I can say at least the right is having the battle. It doesn't seem like the left is having the battle. Chuck Schumer was asked who he voted for on election day in New York City, and he wouldn't say who it was, but he said that he was ready to support the new mayor. Okay, all right. So that's how the Democrats handle that. They've got problems because, you know, he's the standard bearer for he and AOC are the standard bearers for the Democratic Party now.
Sure. Good luck with that.
It's going to be well, and the proof will be in the way that socialism or communism, pardon me, Ellen Barkin, pardon me, Smurf, in the way it's handled.
Chris pointed out that Nick Fuentes is Berwyn's own, is a local boy. Said that Nick Fuentes comes from Berwyn. And yeah, that's what I was going to mention, Chris, is that so is Svengoolie. So
Svengoolie
and Fuentes. So maybe Svengoolie should interview Nick Fuentes.
I mean, you know,
that would be interesting.
That would be just Berwyn Fuentes. Well, you know who else is from Berwyn? The Ides of March.
Oh wow.
Jim Peterick is from Berwyn, and I was once, in a Brandmeier broadcast, they did it from like somebody's house in Berwyn, and the Ides of March were there, and that was kind of cool, hearing Vehicle sung in. And I actually got to sing Vehicle with Peterick once.
Wow!
He came into the WLS studio and he just played the guitar while I sang Vehicle, because I mean that guy milked that song for about. He adapted it to like coverage for the Bears. He did just whatever. People loved that song, which I believe is about a pedophile, if I'm not mistaken. I'm your friendly stranger in a black sedan, and won't you hop inside my car? It sounds like, I don't know.
A big black van, I think, would be more friendly stranger in a big black van.
So how's about Chuy Garcia? Gesundheit. Chuy Garcia drops out. He's not going to run for Congress, but he withdraws like on the eve of when you could submit your petitions or whatever to run for Congress. So just on the eve, so that he could get his chief of staff to be the only candidate. And I mean, it was skullduggery. And David Axelrod, of all people, said, wow, a bait and switch right out of the annals of old Chicago politics. I mean, David Axelrod saying that's, I mean,
sort of one of the masters, isn't he?
I mean, really. I mean, it's why you have Troy Aikman analyzing what quarterbacks are doing. That's why you have David Axelrod analyzing what Chuy Garcia is doing, because it was just, I mean, if not for the guys like David Axelrod, Barack Obama never would have gotten out of the never would have even gotten. He certainly wouldn't have that presidential library he has right now. Have you seen that? Have you seen that?
I have not seen it in person, because
well, the thing is that I mean the pictures of it, and I keep seeing the pictures, and I'm saying, well, they're only like 3/4 done with it, right? Because it looks like they still got to get some scaffolding out of the way or whatever. But that's what it looks like. It's that gray slab, and then some clear glass.
Looks like they ran out of granite.
Something like that.
It's and I actually saw they have no idea what's going to be put in there.
Oh, right. Well,
I imagine Barack and Michelle will be eventually.
Well, I hope Michelle is welcomed there like she wasn't by the public in the White House for all those years. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Hey, there's Kevin Matthews. Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
Hey, there's Bruce Wolf. Hey, how are you, Bruce? It's only been 75,000 years.
Well, I remember the last time I saw you. We were both at a golf outing. I think Larry Wirt's daughter was involved in publicizing some charity, and we were at some golf outing somewhere. It's got to be at least 15 years ago. And you actually interviewed me for a podcast you were doing at the time. Well, unless it was some Kevin Matthews imitator.
No, I remember, I've been doing podcasts since like for 30 years,
Okay.
seriously. When back at ABC, when I got, when the loop changed to sports and all that. But I remember I tried to stay away from golf outings after I got kicked out of 10 courses in 10 years. I really was never welcomed again. So
Can you name the courses? I got to think like Riverside is one, right?
Riverside, Oak Brook twice. There was a place, Bruce, it was, they were all over the place.
And give us a reason that somebody would kick. You're such a nice, of all the guys that I worked with at the Loop. I mean, and who I worked with. I mean, you were always nice. I know, you had that, you could be vicious, if I may do a Kevin Matthews, Eddie Schwartz.
But yeah, I'm nice. But remember Seika taking her clothes off, the adult porn star? That happened over at Oak Brook. You've got strippers coming, parachuting out of airplanes, landing on the tee boxes, ball washers. We wrecked courses.
Right.
I mean, come on. We broke windows. Food fights. They hated us. Larry Wirt, I thought literally he should have gotten kicked out. And we raised $325,000 for a charity. We gave them, by the time we paid our liquor bill and damages, we gave a charity $3,000.
Hey, look, as long as there was a profit there for the charity.
Yeah. Hey, man, it's better than nothing. We had on Larry, it was a par 3, so we had a coffin on the green, and it was Simpkins Funeral Home.
Sure.
And if you chipped into the coffin or got into it, you won a really great prize. But the coffin was so heavy, it's sinking into the green.
Oh,
I mean, that was just one. We destroyed that place.
And you had Chicago Bears players there. I mean, like I remember, McMichael and the late great Steve McMichael and
Walter Payton, McMahon, Payton. They all played.
Well, I remember McMahon. I think it was one of the outings. He saw me tee off, and I sliced it really bad, and he made fun of me. And it was like, okay, I got Jim McMahon making fun of me. That's fine. I can live with that. I mean, that's great. That's terrific.
No, it was classic. I mean, from Chicago Bulls, and then of course, to me, the absolute monsters. Compare them to football players, basketball players, nah, but hockey players. You take the oh my goodness, Keith Magnuson was like an adopted dad to me. We got into so much trouble. Stan Mikita, Bobby Hull, all those guys, and Chris Chelios. You talk about not only were they wild, but they could drink.
The hockey players are notorious, the biggest drinkers of all the athletes.
No question. And the best, because they've got such great stick control when it comes to a golf club. Stan Mikita is, he could have played professional golf. Even Maggie and everybody, they just have such great hands and arms. But when it comes to, I was with Chris Chelios, John Daly, and Kid Rock.
Oh, wow.
Okay, think of that. And they're all teeing up on 16-ounce cans of like Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Oh, sure.
It was, but at the same time, you take a look at, I'm proud of John Daly. He's got a vodka drink now. Good boy. And Kid Rock's doing good. He's down in Nashville. Sure. And Chelly is just, I think he's about ready to join Pearl Jam, with Eddie Vedder, which is cool.
So basically, you're atoning for all this now with Broken Mary. Is that really what it comes down to? Or
no, no. I mean, since I'm Catholic, you're Jewish. I've spent quite a bit of time in a confessional, but for the most part, I mean, the past is the past. I had a great time. I mean, I literally look at my life. I've traveled around the world. I worked with you and some of the best radio talent on the planet. I've done so much. I've written books, 2 barbecue books, 2 books on the Virgin Mary. I mean, I've traveled the world. I went around the world in it's 28 days, 7 continents. It's, you know, I've got a blessed wife, son, daughter, grandkids. No,
That's terrific.
I am like really, 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 I, you know, there's nothing wrong with living life. You know, if I had it to do all over again, would I do things differently? Yeah, you know, a little bit. But you know, also, I mean, if you had things to do over, Bruce, we all
the
would.
thing is it's really interesting for me. I don't have any regrets. It's almost like, you know, it may be a very Jewish thing too. It's
Right.
like, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it was all part of the process anyway.
Right.
You know, and it's like in golf. I mean, you hit the ball into the woods. Well, then you learn not to try and bail out. You bail out. You don't try and hit it, you hit a
Right.
3-wood out of there. And so I'm like happy. I'm even happy for the heartache. And there was plenty of heartache in, you know, my career. I got fired a number of times
All
too.
right.
And it's just, but it's all like, you know, you look back on it, and I don't want to be Pollyannish about it, but it's like, you know, it was great. Look, I'm talking to you right now, and I'm beaming because it's just like, oh yeah, it's Kevin. And I mean, we sat there, Kevin. We're in your studio, okay, and Mickey Rooney is there. You probably don't even remember this.
No, for some reason,
Yeah.
Bruce, a couple of nights ago, I was laying in bed and I remember Mickey Rooney on with Brandmeier.
Okay.
And Mickey's accusing somebody of murdering his wife.
Yeah, my third wife.
Out of a dream thinking of that.
Well, Brandmeier had a drop in. It was something
Yeah.
like, my 4th wife, Barbara, was murdered. You know,
Yeah,
it's from Mickey Rooney. But it's you, me. I remember this. It's you, me, and Mickey Rooney. I mean, you're behind the console on the 37th floor of the Hancock.
Yeah.
Here's the evidence. Mickey Rooney is sitting right next to me. I mean, you're talking about one of the most famous Hollywood celebrities ever. I mean, let's do a show with Judy Garland. I mean, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there, and he's in town to do Lend Me a Tenor. All right. Which, by the way, he crapped all over. And the reason he did it, because it was a drawing room comedy with all kinds of, and those kinds of comedies, it's quick entrances and exits and slamming doors and stuff like that. It's all timing. And Mickey Rooney just decided to ad lib and do his own thing. Well, he's Mickey Rooney. All right. So Mickey Rooney's sitting next to me. And the interview goes on like for an hour. I mean, can you imagine, you know, in today's, you know, segmented world of you know, you don't get an hour, but he sat in there for an hour, and you had to do a few breaks. And every time you came out of a break, you said, "We're here with Andy Rooney." And I would look at you and say, okay, wait, he's calling him Andy Rooney. It's Mickey Rooney. He's thinking of Andy Rooney, but that's how Kevin's mind operated. It wasn't like you were trying to be funny or anything like that. You were just saying that. And Mickey Rooney was not fazed at all. He didn't care. And I'm thinking, yeah, considering the life that he led, the worst thing in the world is not.
You know what, though,
Bruce? To as
I
Andy
think
Rooney.
what was happening, honestly, I think you got 2 guys. He hears Rooney. He's okay with that. And on the radio, I did Andy Rooney from 60 Minutes.
Right.
So I was just short circuiting. Plus, totally. I think it tells you just how much I didn't want Andy Rooney in the room for an hour. It was, you know what I mean? So was I just sabotaging it subliminally? I don't know.
Well, here's the thing, because that's a plausible explanation on your part, because it's not like you were deliberately making a mistake or trying to, you know, say something bad. No, it's like, this is the way Kevin's mind operates. And let me tell you another thing. And I don't know if you're ever going to see a psychologist or psychiatrist in your life or ever have done that, but I'd sit there, and you had a blackboard up there, like by the clock.
Okay.
And you had like the show mapped out. And basically, you were thinking that you were doing the Bob Collins show. Okay. And the thing was, that, I mean, you weren't doing the Bob Collins show. I mean, because Bob Collins didn't have, an alter ego sportscaster saying, Janet Reno, boy, I'd like to. You know, I wasn't doing that. But that's the thing. That's what you thought you were doing. And isn't it amazing? It's like when you look at your golf swing and you think, well, that's not my golf swing.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think what was always, you know, I mean, day one, when I was even doing college radio, I at least had an outline, and I'd always have an outline. I guess that was a net that I never used at all. I never used anything, and I think that's why I went through so many producers. They worked on all these shows, and it's like, I'm not doing it. But what do you do? I mean, obviously it worked.
All right, Kevin Matthews trivia time. Let's see if you remember this. Who was the producer nicknamed Chunga?
Chunga, I find out years later, and it's in my books, the new ones. Okay. I find out that I have dyslexia.
Okay.
So yeah, and that came as a big surprise. And so I always had spelling and reading and whatnot. I can't remember regular people's names. That's how come, Bruce, if you remember, I'd walk around the radio station and I would call everybody, Loop employees, buddy. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy.
Okay.
Hey, buddy. And I mean, I'm working with, Jimmy DeCastro, our general manager, and I'd call him, hey, buddy. I forget anyways, the bottom line is it's dyslexia. And
so are you telling me you don't know who Chunga is?
Well, yes. No, Chunga is Bruce Rosen.
Mitch Rosen. Mitch Rosen. I'm Bruce Wolf. He's Mitch Rosen. You know how all the Jews look alike to you. So I get that.
Yeah. No, but I mean and I go, Mitch Rosen, no, you're Chunga, after a Frank Zappa song. And there was Flipper, and there was Shemp, and there was Pugsley. That's then I still call people like that.
We'll come back and see, if you remember who you were right after these important words. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle is off for these last two segments with Kevin Matthews on the Weekly Wrap. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap with Kevin Matthews here. And we're seeing if Kevin has any recall of 35 years ago on the Loop. And it's pretty good. You remember, quite a bit of that. I had a notion that I would ask you if you'd have Eddie Schwartz interview you right now about Broken Mary.
No, I can't. You know what? I mean, I guess if I have any remorse, when we brought Eddie Schwartz from WGN Radio, where he was king in the overnights,
right,
and we brought him in, and it was just, to me, that was cruel. And I since apologized to Eddie, and Eddie unfortunately died.
Yeah.
But
I was at his funeral, by the way.
He was a great heart, and he loved radio. And you know what? In all honesty, Eddie was a great broadcaster. I mean, he lived for radio, and so
you feel bad about that. You know what? Can I tell you a quick Eddie story? I'll tell you, it involves you. So, I used to do the Stephen Geary show. I would do the sportscasts on their afternoon show, but I was at channel 32 with a microphone there.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there, and they were in the studio. And one day I get a call in a studio phone, sports studio phone, and I pick it up, and the guy on the other end says, "You are vicious," and he something like that, and he you should be ashamed of yourself. And by the way, I am doing a Kevin Matthews, Eddie Schwartz right now, which by nobody else could do it. And so I go, all right, Kevin, thanks. You're driving me crazy right now. I thought it was you. It was actually Eddie. Okay. And it was Eddie. So, and he was upset with the way he had been treated by Stephen Geary. And he thought that I should feel guilty because I shouldn't do this at all. So like the next day, like I'm on the air with Stephen Geary, and Steve's going into a bit about Eddie at that point, a mean bit. I'm not in their studio, so I'm just, in my studio listening. But Steve, having an ear for everything, he stops like 45 seconds into the bit, and he says, all right, Bruce, what's wrong? Because I wasn't saying anything. And he nailed me. He caught me. So kudos to Steve for being, that accurate. But yeah, I felt bad about Eddie too. And I was actually at his funeral, which was at Waldheim Cemetery. Rob Feeder asked me to go. I was like between jobs. Can you believe that? And I went to his funeral, which was at Waldheim Cemetery, which is only a few blocks away from Riverside Country Club, by the way. And it's the old Jewish cemetery. And Dave Baum was there, and Wendy Snyder was there, and Chunga, Mitch Rosen was there. Okay. And Dave Baum says at one point, "What's Bruce Wolf doing here?" And it was a good question. But anyway, they had the funeral, and I swear, Kevin, it was at one end of this old cemetery, and there was a loading dock on the other side for some stores or some warehouses or whatever. And there was a loading dock and one of the trucks there was this big red truck that said Weinstein Chinese food. Okay, so it was Jewish and in the Chinese kind of letters for Weinstein on this big red truck, and it says Weinstein. So it's Jews and Chinese food. And so I'm looking at that. I'm at that funeral for Eddie Schwartz. There's a Chinese food truck, a Jewish Chinese food truck in the background, and all I could think of was I could eat egg rolls forever.
Right. I mean, well, like, there you go. That sounds like an episode of Larry David.
Yeah, total. It actually, and it happened.
Yeah.
And there was nobody I could tell until I could tell you now this, 25 years later, or however long ago it was.
I can't help it. Now I'm turning into Larry David. Who was Eddie's pallbearers, and how could they lift that coffin?
All right, now you're getting into it. Now, if you don't start doing any of
well,
first of all, by that time, unfortunately, he probably had wasted away, but he died. He was only 62 years old, and I just was like, but it was absolutely bizarre, and
it's like Andre the Giant when he died. Yeah, he at least
Kevin, you're slipping into it, and we're going to take away Broken Mary from you. I got to tell you.
No, I'm not. I'm just thinking of something. I'm just like, big people. Who lifts them?
At that point, he wasn't that big. I don't think. I mean, if you have some kind of, you're probably not that heavy at that point. I don't know. Nobody, unfortunately, nobody really was on the air at that time to
just now you got me thinking.
And you know what? Here's the thing, just to show you what kind of jerk I am. Well, you said that, you like made amends to Eddie or felt bad about him. You know who else felt bad about it was Steve, because Eddie would go on Steve's show later on when he was not on, he wasn't employed anymore, but Eddie would call in on occasion to Steve's show, and Steve was nice to him. And it was a whole different era. Mm-hmm. Well, I actually got upset that Steve wasn't at Eddie's funeral. So I wrote him like an email or something, yeah. And I happen to know that I've, from reliable sources, that Steve's not too happy by a couple of the emails that I sent him. But I look back at this stuff like I say, even the heartache, whatever, it's like, it was just cool. I mean, look at this. I know you're part of, I saw the clip for Larry Wirt's got a movie that he's making about the Loop right now.
Yeah.
I saw the clip with you and Johnny and Steve and Jimmy Kimmel and Larry has asked me to, at some point I'm getting down there to do something. But my thing is, before I started at the Loop, when I was at the Loop, Johnny did his first broadcast from my law office, okay, on the 32nd floor of 30 North LaSalle, because he was trying to get around the injunction that his former station in Phoenix had gotten on him so that he couldn't broadcast here. So he did a broadcast from my law office. So that's kind of my roots, from my law office. And now I'm a lawyer again. Oh. And so in between all that time, I got to make a living as a wise ass. Okay. Which is I'm grateful for.
What kind of attorney are you? You do criminal?
I work for a personal injury law firm. It's really one of the top personal injury law firms in the country. And the funny thing is that, I mean, I'm the old guy there. The partners are 25 to 30 years younger than I am, and the associates are 30 to 45 years younger than I am. I imagine working, and they're all really smart people, and it's a great firm, and I just try to keep up and help out a little bit. But
now, are you a big? Because I'm a big fan of Better Call Saul.
Well, yeah. Like, yeah,
Like Saul?
you know, we're a little bit more honorable and ethical than Saul was. So, hey, look, my producer's telling me let's talk a little bit about Broken Mary. I know the story. I did a lot of research on it, and I watched the Channel 2 interview you did, which was great. But yeah, I mean, tell us the story here real quickly.
Well, I've never had an interview about Broken Mary led up to all these things about golf outings and Eddie Schwartz and Chinese food and Jewish cemeteries. But it's an amazing story, honestly, Bruce. That it all started a decade ago when I found this statue of the Virgin Mary, and I was just happened to be going to get my wife some flowers, and I get out of the car and I look over and I see a dumpster, and I can tell right on the ground is a statue of this Virgin Mary, and I'm Catholic. And by the way, Bruce, if you want to become Catholic, I've got a application in my car that I'd like to send you, and I think you would be much happier. And remember, Jesus was Jewish.
It is Jewish, even he's eternal. He is Jewish.
Yeah,
So
he's changed a few things, but getting back,
yeah,
you know,
go ahead. Sure.
and I saw this statue and I went up to it, and this statue is broken in half. Her hands are missing. She's covered in garbage. And the journey really begins of getting that statue from that dumpster, because I went into the flower shop and I asked to buy it. And they said, well, no, it's not for sale. It's a family heirloom. And the challenge was getting it. And back in my days, I knew a lot of people up in Rosemont that, could have come and we could have stolen the statue and burnt this place down. But no, that's not very godly. So the thing is, I did get the statue. What I did with the statue, I put her back together, but I didn't fix her hands. This monument maker wanted to make her brand new. You won't even tell she's broken. And at that time in my life, Bruce, I had run through all these radio stations. Doctors thought I had a brain tumor. It turns out to be a rare form of MS. And, my whole life just was at a dumpster, and I said, no, I want to keep her broken, just put her to two halves together. And I said, she reminds me of me. I want to call her Broken Mary. And I ended up I met a priest because I was slowly coming back to church. And it's an incredible story, Bruce, because what ended up happening, the statue was blessed by a priest, and then people started taking her home. She's been in hospice and emergency rooms, prison. The most broken are relating to this. And here it is, 2 books later, with Matthew Kelly, Broken Mary, and Mary's Roadie, and now Phantom. This movie that opened in theaters October 7th. It's going to be streaming soon, right after Thanksgiving, and you'll be able to see it.
And you have, and it's helped people. There have been some miracles.
Oh, there's no, right, Bruce. It's absolutely. We were over in 1,000 theaters, and it's just, it's amazing how relatable this is. And I truly believe that, soon I'm going to be coming over to Rome. I would love the Pope to bless her so she becomes Our Lady of the Broken. And she's getting attention worldwide. Literally from the Philippines to Australia. The question is, bottom line, whether you're Catholic, Jewish, whatever, we're all broken, but we're loved by God. And it's a very relatable, I think it's a very beautiful story.
It sounds great. By the way, you got to have an in with. I think the Pope probably listened to us on the radio. So
the day he became Pope, my phone blew up and said he's got to be a Kev head. He's got. And you think about it, he was on the South Side, and there's no question. I don't care who you were, you listened to the Loop. You just did. You had
to. Absolutely. I guaranteed. So we can't wait for the Pope to bless it and bless you. And Kevin, it's so great to talk to you again.
And Bruce, like I said, You know, I know Larry is finishing up with this Loop documentary, and if you can contribute, you should, everybody, because it's really good. And I know he wants to bring everybody in, which I think I told Larry, why not make it like a Cubs festival where it's, you go out somewhere like St. Charles where they got hotels, and then, you take a theater and Johnny and everybody gets up and does something, you know what I mean? I mean, make it into,
great.
because I mean, we did impact people and our audience. Without our audiences, we would have been nothing. And, so I think it's really good. And, if I need an attorney,
absolutely. Call Saul. Don't call me.
There you go. And now you got me thinking. I think I know what cemetery that is because, again, I used to belong to Riverside until they kicked me out permanently.
Sure.
And is that Chinese food factory?
I don't know if the Chinese food is still there, but
yeah,
if you ever want to have egg rolls together, let's do that forever.
Okay.
Thanks, Kevin.
God bless you, Bruce.
God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.
And that's the weekly wrap on radio and television. Follow Bruce at Bruce Wolf Shy on Twitter and Tim at timslagle.com. The weekly wrap with Bruce Wolf, a CP Pods production.